Chapter 1. You are listening at FameTV.info. Translator. Nyo.bo Studio Editor. Nyo.bo Studio. The scarlet moonlight shone, illuminating the desert in a strange and magical light. A handsome red-haired young man was hiding at the edge of the oasis, biting a piece of black and hard jerky. His clothes were torn and dirty, and his bright eyes were staring at the edge of the desert. There, countless bones were buried in the dry sand. One or two places would be occasionally blown away by the wind, revealing parts of the bones. The thing that slaughtered was a monster that only roamed in the desert, the five-legged flame lizard. The monster's body was a meter long when in its mature state. Unlike other lizards, this monster's tail was as flexible as its limbs. That was its fifth claw. Suddenly, something was moving under the sand. The red-haired young man's gaze chased after it. Poof! Something leaped out of the sand. It was a 1-meter-long five-legged lizard with dark red skin. It laid low on the sand and looked around vigilantly as if it was looking for something. The red-haired young man held his breath. Such an adult five-legged flame lizard liked to kill and often attacked humans. However, they had many natural enemies in the desert. The five-legged flame lizard had an endowed supernatural ability to avoid being hunted by its natural enemies, which was listening in the wind. Any movement would be caught by it within 10 meters radius. The distance between both the lizard and the young man was within 10 meters radius at the moment. The dark red lizard did not notice the danger and walked towards the oasis step by step. It was getting closer and closer to the position where the red-haired young man was hiding. The red-haired young man made himself prepared. It was very likely that he would be torn to pieces if he confronted such a monster. He might turn into white bones like those adventurers. Therefore, he had to be careful so that he could live longer. In the desert, there was only the law of the jungle between humans and monsters. The red-haired young man smiled when the distance between the two was only 3 meters. The five-legged flame lizard's forelimbs stepped on a wooden plank. Suddenly, the wooden plank bounced up. An even bigger wooden plank swung up and smashed on the five-legged flame lizard head before it could escape. That was a trap that the young man had long laid in ambush. He used 2 sticks and a hemp rope to connect the wooden plank to the tightest state. It would be activated if a little pressure was exerted. That was a simple version of a mousetrap. The red-haired young man seized the opportunity and jumped out from his hiding place. He stuffed the jerky into his mouth and pulled the longbow from behind him. Then, he placed the arrow and aimed. His movements were as smooth as a top-notch archer. Whoosh! The five-legged flame lizard was preparing to escape. But its not very smart brain did not understand why a human would dare to attack it when it saw that the thing attacking it was only a human. It was stunned for some time. The arrow shot into its eyes. Whoosh! 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 The red-haired young man shot 3 more arrows. The five-legged flame lizard was a level 1 monster, and its vitality had already far surpassed that of an ordinary beast. It would not die even if it shot into its eyes. It would only be slightly injured at most. The 3 arrows pinned down the five-legged flame lizard. Even the strangest tail claw, which was most difficult to guard against, was nailed by one of the arrows. The five-legged flame lizard let out a painful cry. Its sharp eyes turned scarlet, just like the red moon in the sky. The five-legged flame lizard was a violent monster. It could easily enter a state of madness. It wanted to pounce on the human and swallow him into its stomach since it was ambushed by him. Therefore, the five-legged flame lizard ignored the pain and spread its limbs. Its enormous body was charging toward the red-haired young man like a horse carriage. Black blood dripped from the five-legged flame lizard's abdomen onto the sand. The red-haired young man was still shooting with his bow and arrows, but the five-legged flame lizard had long been prepared to dodge the few arrows this time. Although one of its eyes and tail claws were injured, the five-legged flame lizard was still very agile. It could dodge the arrows and quickly shorten the distance between both of them. The red moon was like blood, illuminating the desert like a sea of blood. Seeing the five-legged flame lizard approaching, the red-haired young man put his bow on his back and looked at the approaching five-legged flame lizard with a sharp gaze. The five-legged flame lizard also noticed the difference in the red-haired young man, but the red-haired young man did not have the powerful aura that it was afraid of. From what it knew, this kind of human would not have the ability to hurt it. They would only be like the white bones on the ground. He would eventually turn into a pile of white bones after being eaten by it. The five-legged flame lizard dashed in front of the red-haired young man. It exerted force with its forelimbs and suddenly stood up. Its sharp claws aimed at the red-haired young man's head. However, the red-haired young man's mouth suddenly revealed a smile just as it was about to cut open the red-haired young man's head. He said with a mocking expression, "Lizard Bloodline." The most outstanding hunter could always hold his breath and attack at the most critical moment. The red-haired young man's body suddenly became soft. His entire body emitted a black light, and his body became sticky. Like a lizard, he stuck to the five-legged flame lizard's claws and climbed onto the five-legged flame lizard's back. He grabbed the arrow that pierced the five-legged flame lizard's eyes and used all his strength to slice from the five-legged flame lizard's eye socket to its tail with the arrow. The five-legged flame lizard could not even let out a whine before it was dissected all the way down. The five-legged flame lizard still wanted to use its tail claw to kill the red-haired young man at its last breath, but the arrow that had pierced into the tail claw made the tail claw lose its strength to lift. The five-legged flame lizard stopped breathing in its unwillingness and confusion. The five-legged flame lizard still did not understand why such an ordinary human would be as agile as a lizard until it died. The black light on the red-haired young man's body dissipated. He panted heavily, sweat beading on his forehead and neck. After resting for a while, he immediately stood up. He did not dare to rest for long. That was a paradise of slaughter, a desert, a battlefield between humans and monsters. He could be ambushed by any hidden monsters at any time, therefore, vigilance was a necessary survival skill. He took a deep breath and put his hand on the head of the five-legged flame lizard. System, steal its endowed supernatural ability. A light flashed in his eyes, and the scene in front of him changed. A shriveled scarlet hand that had transcended fate and space fell from the sky and enveloped the five-legged flame lizard. The five-legged flame lizard quickly contracted as if it had shrunk, and finally turned into nothingness. The huge hand clenched into a fist and opened it towards the red-haired young man. A black ball of light appeared in his palm, and he could vaguely see an exquisite little lizard inside. A red panel also appeared at the side, listening to the wind. Class Endowed Supernatural Ability. The endowed supernatural ability of the five-legged flame lizard's race, making them able to capture all sounds within a certain range. Additional. The lowest grade Class Endowed Supernatural Ability, the potential value is ridiculously low, the evolution path is unclear. The system does not recommend the host to make it permanent. Do you want to make the endowed supernatural ability, Listen to the Wind, permanent? Host, congratulations on completing the freshman mission. Stealing monsters endowed supernatural ability up to 10 times. The freshman mission has been completed. Host, congratulations on obtaining a freshman gift bag. Listen to the full novel at FameTV.info, direct link in the description.